Alright, so today in this short video I want to show you briefly how to do a co-requisite mind map. This assignment, or these instructions should I say, can be used for two different assignments. For the co-requisite vocabulary mind map or the co-requisite chapter mind map. In either one you're going to be doing the same functions using the same setup. Creating the bubbles and boxes and making your web or your cluster, or as I prefer to call them, a mind map. Okay, so I have PowerPoint open. And if you want to start with a title slide, that is perfectly fine. You could put in whatever the chapter, the essay, the article is that you're doing in your co-requisite course. Put that there, and then put your name. Okay. For my purposes, I'm just going to delete these boxes real quick. You can either delete them, or you can go up here to Layout and choose Blank. Okay, so because I want to start with a blank slate. I have had, before I go into the next step, I have had some students prefer to use Word, and that is totally fine. It is the exact same steps in Word, because Microsoft Office uses the same Smart Art tool in either one of those. So what you'll want to do is, once you have a clean slate, you'll want to go to Insert, Smart Art. Same icon, same spot, and everything on Word, okay? And then you want to go down to Hierarchy, okay? You can either use Hierarchy, because a lot of these work. This one honestly works the best out of all the hierarchy ones. Or you can use, if you're using a vocabulary one, these with the bubbles here, the circles, this one, the basic radial, diverging radial, the radial Venn, or even the radial cluster will work perfectly for vocabulary. If you're doing an essay or a chapter, I strongly advise you to go to the hierarchy and use the horizontal hierarchy. The layout's just easier, things work better. Okay. I'm going to just do this one. Actually, let me just show you both. Let's start with a cycle. I'm going to use, I like this one. So I'm going to do like a vocabulary term. Excuse me. If you notice, you have a text box over here, and this kind of looks a lot like an outline. If you've watched the outline video, you have one on the left, and then you have some tabbed over. The dot, the bullet on the far left is your center circle. Okay, so that's where you would put your term, or when we talk about doing an entire chapter or essay mind map, that's where you would put like your chapter title or your essay title. So term, whatever it is. And then your next areas. You can make as many of these or as few as you need. Your vocabulary assignment for these should be useful to you. So if you're talking about, maybe it is a term or maybe it's a person. Okay, maybe you want to remember information about the person. So maybe you would need their date of birth. Okay, the next thing you would need is what they did that was important. Okay, I don't know. Maybe you need their death date. Okay, I don't know. I guess that could be in the date of birth one, right? Maybe you need to know where they were from. Okay, if you're talking about a person. If you're talking about an actual key term, well, instead of date of birth, you would need the definition. And then the next thing you might need would be using the term in a sentence. Another thing you might need is synonyms of the word. Okay? Maybe there's other words that you could use in place of that one that you need to know. And then this last one, I mean, you could do antonyms, you could do prior knowledge. Like if I say process, if the term was process, where do you hear process? My undergraduate is business and marketing, so I think of a business process or a marketing process. However, if you've taken a science class, you might be thinking of a process that happens in science or biology, something like that. So process could be a variety of different subject areas. So you might want to put like a prior knowledge, how you know that term. Okay? So that's an example of how you would do a term, key person, key time frame. This course has been paired with history in the past, and sometimes students would use treaties or battles as their key term here because they needed to know information about it. Okay, so I'm just going to close out of that. Go back, new slide. It's blank, so I'm going to go back to Insert, Smart Art. We'll go to Hierarchy, and like I said, I'm going to use this one because I like this one better if I was doing something for a chapter or an outline of an essay, or a mind map of an essay. I'm going to drag my points to the side of my slide. Don't drag it further or you won't be able to read your stuff. I do this only to give us more room. If you're doing a large textbook chapter, you might have to do kind of one mind map that covers the title and your main sections, and then you might have to do a separate slide for each individual section, okay, because sometimes there's a lot of information in these textbook chapters that you need to know. An article or an essay, for the most part, will probably fit on one slide, maybe two. Okay, notice how my boxes are really big. Okay, we can adjust this. Right. It did not bring up my text pane that I like to type in. I prefer to type in the text pane versus the boxes. Okay, so up here on the left-hand side, you can click on text pane and it will pull it up. So here I have my title of, oh, hang on one second. My phone is ringing. I should have turned it off. Okay, apologize on that. So here we are with the title of the chapter, essay, article, whatever it is that you're doing. Notice how this one is a little larger, so we've got more indentations, kind of like that outline. So here we would have our section, title, or main idea of paragraph. Notice how the writing, the type is moving and adjusting as needed as we type, okay? And it will do that. So whatever our key point, term, whatever we need to put as these next ones, maybe it's an example on that one, okay? Again, section, title, or main idea of struggling with typing today. Whatever the information is, and I just hit enter. Oops, spelled information wrong. I just hit enter to create more boxes, and it's a lot like creating that outline, that enter tab, shift tab, going back and forth. So like here, if I hit tab, it created another box out from information where I can put the example. Okay, hit enter, it created a second one. Well, I don't need that one there. So shift tab brings me back to that one. Shift tab brings me back to for my third section or main idea of paragraph. Okay, so you can create as many of these boxes as you need to, and if you're careful with your shift tab and paying attention to your bullets, it will create it for you. There's no going in and creating these boxes and manually drawing those lines. I will say that's pretty awesome because in the past I have done that before I learned how to use Smart Art. If need be, if you get a little busy, you can readjust these boxes size-wise. You know, that's kind of big. I can move this around. If need be, I can click on this and get up here on the line where I got that, and I can drag this to where I need it to be. Same goes for these. I can move them, whatever I need to do here to make my mind map fit better on my page. Do make sure that you pay attention to your lines overlapping and stuff like that, because that's the whole point of a mind map, showing those connections that, you know, up there with this first section, title or paragraph, that this is the information that goes with it. This following this line out is the information that was in this section. So it's just a visual representation of how things work together. Last little bit here, if you want to get fancy with these, you can change the colors of them right here. I think that one's probably my favorite. You can change the way the boxes look. Don't get too fancy to where I can't read it or you can't read it, but feel free to, if you want to change the color and different stuff, you are more than welcome to. Okay. Once you're done, once you've got all your terms in there or all your mind map done, just save the document and upload it in Blackboard for us. If you have any questions, do email me earlier in the week. That way we have time to get answers back to you and get the assignment turned in and we're not behind or getting our work stacked up. So you guys have a great one.